Hello and welcome to my talk on compliance operation CompOps with Armory and AWS. I'm Thomas McGonagle. I'm a cloud partner solution architect at Armory. If you want to learn more about me or connect with me on LinkedIn or whatever, you can go to my linktree/McGonagle. What is compliance? And what is a compliance program? Well, a compliance program can ultimately help you cut your operational costs, improve efficiencies, and reduce risk. What is compliance? Well, it's a regulatory framework. There are policies, standards, and risks, and the corresponding documentation that encapsulates those risks, policies, and standards. How is it different from security? Well, security encompasses physical controls, secure IT environments, authentication mechanisms, network access, business processes, and so forth. And compliance is the regulatory bodies of information that encapsulate security and enforce security best practices and procedures. And what are some examples of compliance? Well, there's HIPAA, there's SOC 2, there's PCI DSS, there's ISO 27000 family, there's NIST CSF, and GPDR. And these are all acronyms or names that we're all very familiar with, but they're all examples of compliance and regulatory frameworks that enforce security best practices. So what is CompOps? Well, CompOps is the application of DevOps cultural best practices and technologies on compliance, on the art and science of compliance. What is CompOps? Just like DevOps, it's people, process, and technology. It's the encapsulation of those regulatory frameworks into corresponding infrastructure as code and continuous delivery pipelines to encapsulate this continuous delivery and CompOps and compliance and operations for enterprises and individuals. What's my personal definition of DevOps? Well, it's a technical and cultural focus on the software delivery mission. It's a mission, it's all about the delivery mission. It's all about the software delivery mission. It's all about the technical and cultural focus that we have on delivering software rapidly and quickly. What does CompOps allow you to do? It allows you to demonstrate your adherence to laws and regulations. It speeds your response times when audits or litigation occur. It reduces the risk of fines and penalties. It improves your business efficiencies. It reduces your administrative costs. It gets control over your critical records. And it does all of these things through the enforcement of DevOps best practices and to the art and science of compliance. And so what is the 7 DevOps practices that I'm referring to? And this comes from the Enterprise DevOps Playbook, the O'Reilly book published by our friends at Booz Allen Hamilton. And they are practice 1, configuration management, practice 2, continuous integration, practice 3, automated testing, practice 4, infrastructure as code, practice 5, continuous delivery, practice 6, continuous deployment, practice 7, continuous monitoring. And so this slide I feel is incredibly important. I believe that all 7 practices correspond to compliance operations, CompOps. And if you look at, we could talk for days about things like continuous monitoring and infrastructure as code and automated testing, but really what we're focusing on today is continuous delivery. And then why? Why are we focusing on continuous delivery? Because continuous delivery has the opportunity to be the man in the middle, to be the center, to be the very center of your software delivery pipeline, and we can leverage technologies like the OpenPolicy Agent and the Armory's OpenPolicy project and product to enforce policy-driven software development. And so I'll be talking about what policy-driven software development is in a number of slides. But before I get to that, I just wanted to call everyone's attention to this. This is one of my favorite slides. This slide about shows the various microservices and the microservices such as Orca and Front 50 interacting with the OpenPolicy Agent to enforce this policy-driven approach to continuous delivery and software delivery. So what are some of these benefits? Well, automation with OpenPolicy Agent provides benefits of repeatability, agility, scalability, reassurance, disaster recovery, and reassurance means documentation. And these five benefits are incredibly powerful for a compliance-driven organization and a compliance-driven software development practice. What are some of the principles of CompOps? Well, it's declarative. With OpenPolicy Agent, you get this declarative specification of your policies. They're abstract. We're abstracting out the implementation details of the compliance project, where their idempotent action can be taken once, and enforcement of your project and of your pipelines can be enforced using CompOps and using the OpenPolicy Agent, and convergent. Over time, they lend towards correctness. Similarly, what are some of the benefits? Well, the CompOps project with CompOps theory with the OpenPolicy Agent has the following benefits. It's modular, it's cooperative. You can cooperate with others and on your policies and on your compliance projects. You're using this one standardized policy agent language called Rego. You have composability, you have extensibility, and you have flexibility. And what are the impacts? What's the impact of CompOps? Well, it's going to improve your speed. It's going to make your compliance and your security faster and and make your deployments workloads faster and more speedy. It creates predictability. You can drastically reduce risk of human error. It provides management. You can centrally govern and monitor disparate systems and workloads. It can increase responsiveness, and it can foster collaboration. And so at AWS, they have this concept of a shared responsibility model. And in this model, the blue is all the stuff that the user, the customer, is responsible for from a security standpoint. And everything in orange is the stuff that AWS is responsible for. And this blue examples of customer data and platform application, identity and access management, operating systems, network firewall configuration, are all components of a policy-driven framework. And we can use the OpenPolicy Agent with Spinnaker and with Armory Enterprise to enforce the policies of a compliance framework, of a compliance regulatory framework. And we can do that through this governance, risk, and compliance approach. And this comes from a blog from AWS. And I just want to call everyone's attention to the compliance, the rightmost chevrons. And so we have monitor the threat landscape, implement controls, insider behavioral analysis. We have self-assess, system processes, audit preparation. We have regulatory audits, standards audits, and contractual audits. And we have reporting, internal regulatory bodies and customers. And so this concept of monitoring, self-assessing, external audits, and reporting is all an example of the larger concept of continuous compliance. And this is an introduction. I'm introducing this concept kind of late in the presentation, but it allows us to continuously comply with the regulatory frameworks that CompOps is trying to do with OpenPolicy Agent. Examples of automated controls at AWS include governance and oversight, personnel management, configuration management, IAM, monitoring, logging, physical security, scanning, and patching. And once again, we have the OpenPolicy Agent, and the OpenPolicy Agent allows us to enforce operational policies to ensure best practices, security policies to secure resources and data, regulatory policies to meet requirements like SOC 2 and ISO 27000, business policies to optimize for cost and performance, and regulatory compliance policies allow us to automate compliance with existing and emerging regulations across the software development lifecycle. And then finally, OPA plus AWS plus Armory allows us to monitor compliance with policies, standards, and security controls, continually self-assess, respond to events and changes to risk, and communicate events and changes to risk. And thank you very much for your time and listening to my talk on compliance operations. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Spinnaker Summit. And thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I believe I have a few minutes for questions and answers about the lightning talk. It was a pleasure to have you all listen to this concept of CompOps, and it's the application of DevOps principles and practices to the compliance arena. Um, and does anyone have any questions that they can post in the Q&A? Does anyone have any? If not, we could keep going through and asking people what their first jobs were. Um, does anyone have any questions about CompOps and OpenPolicy Agent and how it facilitates this uh, this really powerful approach to compliance? And while we're waiting for any questions to come in, several people have asked about the passcode. If you could stop by our booth in the booth section to get the passcodes, that would be really appreciated. We're not giving them out in my session. We gave them out on day one, and then we're giving them out at the booth as well. So we can give you both passcodes if you stop by the our booth in the expo center. Um, so we don't really have a lot of questions. So I just want to kind of poll the team. Is compliance important to you in your day-to-day job? If you're welcome to put it in the chat or welcome to put it in the Q&A, whatever is easiest for you. And if you remember, I had this slide. I can bring it up. It'll take me a minute, but compliance is regulations and it's documentation and all those good things. And it is different from security. Security is obviously what's on everyone's top of mind, but compliance is the adherence to regulations. And once again, our OpenPolicy Agent product supports that and facilitates that. Yeah, so Stan just said how great our logo is. I actually have it, if you can see, I have it hanging up in my wall. I love the Armory logo. I think it's like inspired. So if you look at it closely, it's a shield, for Armory, and then it's got these clouds um, inside the shield. So it's we're Cloud Armory. It's a great logo. I love it. And then my colleague Jennifer Hooper is talking about how she used to do swag brand for Heroku. I didn't know that, Jennifer. That's fascinating. It must have been a really neat job. Heroku is a great product. So Stan's digging into OPA. How can it enable compliance and pipelines to ensure we're enabling teams access to pipelines while ensuring we are meeting organizational needs? So OPA has this language REGO, and you can define your compliance requirements for a pipeline. So let's just say you needed to have manual judgments before any push to production. You can model that in the OPA REGO language, and then you can enforce that through our open policy product, our open policy agent product. And so if you remember, there was like a graphic where it had all the Spinnaker microservices, and they were reaching out to the OPA technology, OPA product, and they were determining whether or not the pipeline was compliant with OPA. And so I'm going to give that, Stan, that's an excellent question. So I'm just going to give that one more shot at trying to answer it. So the OPA technology allows you to model your compliance requirements for your CD system. Does that make sense? If you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I could continue talking about it. But that was a really, really great question. Thank you. Thumbs up. Thanks, Dan. And I think there's a smiley face too. Thank you. Thank you for the excellent question. We just have a couple more minutes, guys. Does anyone have any other additional questions? Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for attending. our session today, and I hope you found my lightning talk to be informative. I am personally very interested in security. I'm not sure if I have the personality for security work, but I'm personally very interested in DevSecOps, and it's such an important field, and compliance is an important part of it, right? It really is. It's an important part of security, and it's an important part of making our systems as secure as possible and adhering to those regulations like HIPAA. You know, like I'm intimately familiar with. I've been spending a lot of time. I have a sick baby. I've been spending a lot of time in a hospital interacting with the HIPAA requirements, and gosh, you know, to have the ability to abstract those out and to model, and then model is the right verb, right? To model those requirements in code and then enforce them into your CD pipeline is according to me, just magic, right? Like it's just powerful. It's a powerful approach to compliance, and I mean, I dare to say that there's probably no better way to do it than to do it with CD and with OPA. I honestly can't think of a better way to enforce compliance requirements. And on that note, I believe we have 4 more minutes. And so if anyone has any questions or comments, I'd appreciate that. Oh, here's a good question from AWS with Spinnaker. Excuse me, with Anonymous. So, what are the key features? Sorry, Anonymous. I missed this question from 5 minutes ago. We have enough time to answer it. So, what are the key features do we get with the collaboration of AWS and Spinnaker? And so, that's my purview. I'm in the Cloud Partner Solution Group at Armory, and you know, from its beginnings, Spinnaker has been highly focused on Amazon AWS. You know, Netflix leverages Spinnaker for their EC2 infrastructure, and we have support now for all the different kind of deployment targets. That's the right expression, deployment targets. You know, so we have EC2, we have EKS, we have we have ECS, we have Lambda, and we have Fargate, and we have those deployment targets. And the focus and the participation on AWS is only increasing. We're going to have more and more capabilities and features and products and focus on AWS. You know, interestingly enough, AWS or Spinnaker is in charge is responsible for like $1 billion of AWS spend. You know, if you think about it, it makes sense with Netflix. You know, being a third of the internet or whatever their bandwidth requirements are, and so Spinnaker and AWS are very tightly connected. Anonymous, please let me know if that doesn't answer your question, or if you have any other additional questions. We have 2 more minutes. I'd be happy to dig into that, or if you want to connect with me through Linktree. It's Linktree/McGonagle. Please do. I just got notified that I'm at time. It's been a tremendous pleasure speaking with you all today, and I hope to connect with you and get to know you all, and hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much.